organize this kind of seminars, conferences, and symposiums. And this is unique because this time we are undertaking a huge curriculum reform. And in the midst of all this, we have organized this International Research Symposium to generate knowledge to facilitate the ongoing curriculum research process. So I can see prominent researchers, educationists, and intellectuals, professionals who have gathered here to witness the outcome of this conference. So I can see prominent figures. First of all, the Director General of NIE, Dr. Sunil Jayantha Navaratna. He is the key figure and the chief organizer, and he has advised us all the time and monitored to bring this session to the present standard. And thank you very much, sir. We welcome you as the member of the organizing committee for this occasion. Dr. Jayanti Gunasekara, you must be very happy during your period. The foundation stone was laid for this building, but this is the first time, I think, so you are witnessing the beauty of this new auditorium. And then I can see the keynote speaker today. Professor Patil from India and Dr. Mukesh, I don't know whether I am right. Professor Chandra Gupta also coming from, and his wife, and welcome you to this event. And so Professor Gominda Ponnamperuma, he is the keynote speaker today, and I know very well. Some 2-3 days ago, so I was calling, I was pressing because I want to get the print copy of the keynote speech. I called him. Then he said, I didn't go to the university for 3 days and because I was critically ill. And I was shocked. And then he said, don't worry, Kapadigoda, I will make it. Yes, you did it. And thank you very much. And we warmly welcome you for this occasion, sir. Thank you. And then this work would not have been possible with the organizing committee members, right? And at the beginning of this session, with the advice of Director General, sir, we have initiated an organizing committee. And in this organizing committee, we have all the Director Generals, directors, and academic staff of the NIE. So Dr. Ranjani Dhanawardena, Deputy Director General for Research and Planning, she gave us all the advice and encouragement throughout this process. And thank you very much, madam. I welcome you very warmly for this occasion. General Chair of this session, Dr. Darshana Samaravira, with his vast experience of research and the presentations and all, he gave us valuable guidance, encouragement, and at times I can remember how hard you were trying to solve problems. Thank you very much. And I welcome you for this occasion. All the DDGs, Dr. Visharad Sudas Samarasinghe and KWMP Vijay Sundara. And thank you very much, sir. All the administrative issues and financial issues in connection with this research symposium. And you have spent your time with us today. Thank you very much. And you are very warmly welcome for this session. Mr. Anura Jayalal, DDG, Faculty of Leadership Education and Management, MIPE Center. So at times of difficulty, you encourage us, at least by giving words. Now this should be like this. And thank you very much. And I am not going to list out all the names of the organizing committee. I can see Dr. Ashok Silva, Dr. Katukurunda, Dr. Jagat, and all, they helped us in numerous ways in making this event a success. And not forgetting our all former Director General of the former DDG, Dr. Godwin Kodituaku, he also the former Director of the Department of Research and Development. I can remember how hard he was working in making these editorial works and reviewing the articles. Thank you very much, sir. You are very warmly welcome for this occasion. Ms. Padmini Ranavira, Vice President of the National Education Commission. And I can remember we met 2-3 weeks ago in the Ministry of Education workshop, and we were talking, and it is very nice to see you, madam, here, and you are very warmly welcome for this occasion. And all the representatives from the Ministry of Education, I can see several places, familiar faces from the Department of, from the section of Research and Development, and the director has come, and the standard units, some of the officers has come, and the provincial departments, zonal departments, and all the higher officials from the education sector, you are welcome. All the directors and the senior lecturers, and the assistant lecturers who are all gathered here, we welcome you very warmly for this occasion. And not forgetting all the presenters today and tomorrow, we are going to have a wonderful session. And this stage is yours after 2-3 hours, right? We are not going to play anymore, so it is yours, right? So you are eagerly waiting for that. And I welcome you all as a member of the organizing committee for this occasion. And I think I mentioned all the names, and if I miss any of this, I beg your pardon. And I hope that this session is going to have a wonderful 2 days academic session generating research-based knowledge, facilitating the ongoing curriculum reform process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear sir. Let me now call upon Dr. Darshana Samaravira, Deputy Director General, Faculty of Languages, Humanities and Social Sciences in IE, Sri Lanka, General Chair, IRSE, to address the gathering.
Good morning, Venerable Mahasangha, Director General of the National Institute of Education, Dr. Sunil Jayanta Navaratna, former Director General, Dr. Jayanti Gunasekara, Professor Raja Gunawardana, former Dean of the Faculty of Education, University of Colombo, Professor Z.N. Patel from India, former professor of the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad, and all the other academics joining us today from India. Deputy Director Generals of the National Institute of Education. I'm sorry, Mrs. Padmini Ranavira, Vice Chair of the National Education Commission, and Professor Gominda Ponnamperuma, our keynote speaker of this session. Dr. Godwin Kodituaku, former Director, Research, Department of Research, and former Deputy Director General of the Faculty of Languages, Humanities and Social Sciences. All the other academics from the Ministry of Education members, and my colleagues from the NIE and other presenters. And we have a couple of presenters joining from a few countries. They are online, and I want to mention them as well. First of all, let me thank the organizing committee, Dr. Dayananda Kappatikoda and his team for inviting me to join this event. We are going to have a series of conferences. We had one at the National Education Commission yesterday. Mrs. Padmini Ranavira must be really tired by now because she was one of the key figures behind the success of that conference. And today we have the conference, international conference organized by the Department of Research, NIE. And on the 20th, we have another conference that's going to be an online conference. However, conferences are very interesting and important events, because not only because we get an opportunity to present our academic excellence, but because friends meet after a long time. One example is Professor Patil and Mrs. Padmini Ranavira joining after 35 years. Yesterday at the NEC conference, these old friends met after 35 years, though we are from neighboring countries. I know Professor Patil one day sent me an email with 2 photographs, 2 Sri Lankans, and he wanted to know whether I could locate where these people are. One is Mrs. Padmini Ranavira. Straight away I told him, okay, I know her. She's currently the vice chair of the National Education Commission, but I don't know the other gentleman, and we are trying to locate him still. But I'm very happy that friends finally met in Sri Lanka. Right? 35 years ago, young academic. Were you Dr. Patil those days, sir? No. Oh, were you Dr. Patil or Mr. Patil? Okay, Dr. Patil and young Mrs. Ranavira met in the UK at Murray House, right? Edinburgh University. So like that, we meet after a long time. Yesterday, I can remember I met a few friends whom I didn't meet for many years. Perhaps I met one colleague from the Univotech, though we are in Sri Lanka, we are in Colombo. I met him after 10 years. So the most important thing, I think, in a conference is meeting people, meeting non-people and meeting new people and widening your network. Right? As the Director General always mentions, that is one of the key strengths of 21st century, widening your network, having a bigger network. Right? Maybe academics, maybe professionals. Right? If you have more people in your network, you become very, very strong. So I consider this as a great opportunity for all these academics and professionals who are present here today to share their research excellence as well as to become good friends. During the past few weeks, when I talked to the when I got this opportunity to work with the Department of Research in various activities of the organizing of this conference, I got an opportunity to work with a dynamic team of people, young people from the Department of Research, and it's their first international event. And we have been conducting this research symposium under the leadership of Dr. Godwin Kodituaku for a long time, but they were more closed events. Only a limited group of people got together and discussed their research findings. So this time we have made it open to a larger gathering, but I don't know, right? There must have been many restrictions and limitations for people to participate in. However, I'm happy that we see a sizable group of people attending this conference, and they are going to share their research expertise. What we need in, this is according to the professional development experts, this is one of the conferences are one of the main professional development strategies that an institution can organize. Rather than going for a lengthy course of study, within a day or a couple of days, many people can share their expertise and they can discuss, they can widen their horizon. Senior researchers giving their expertise to junior researchers. I know there are many young research scholars here. They are eagerly, there are research scholars who are ready to present their research studies for the first time in their life. For example, we have one young researcher here. This is her first international conference. So I think, we have many such people, and they will get a wonderful opportunity to meet senior research scholars, researchers like our keynote speaker, Professor Govinda Ponnam Peruma, who has been in the field of medical education for a long period, and he has been there with Dr. Navaratna when he was the secretary to the Ministry of Higher Education, reforming the university education system, and he is one of the key figures behind the KSAM model. Sir, we are honored to have you here as the keynote speaker. I'm sure that all these research scholars who are here, whether they are experts or novice in the field of research, they are lucky to listen to you and get your experience. And I must thank the Director General of the National Institute of Education, Dr. Sunil Jayanta Navaratna, for his tireless efforts to bring quality into the academic endeavors of the National Institute of Education. He is very much interested in research and developing the academic quality of the institution. To have such an academic as the head of the institution, right, we are honored and we are lucky. And Dr. Jayanti Gunasekara, the previous, immediately before Dr. Navaratna, she was our Director General, and she too is a real academic, and her tireless efforts for 4 years as the Director General, and before that, many decades as a Deputy Director General, a director, and an academic of the National Institute of Education. Madam, you have made a huge contribution to the research work of the NIE, and I'm sure that we all learned something from you, because when I joined the NIE, you were the Director Planning, right, as you can remember. So from that day onwards, right, you were behind us, and you wanted to see these young academics of the NIE performing, right, the best. And now you must be very happy, as Dr. Capeticoda mentioned, to see those young academics becoming seniors of the NIE and performing very well. And I must mention my colleague, Dr. Ashoka De Silva, as well, because he headed the committee of the reviewers, and he did a wonderful job. And I know he was very busy with the academic, with the curriculum development work, plus getting ready for yesterday's conference as well, because he was one of the presenters. Still, he worked with a wonderful team of academics and reviewed the papers and selected the best papers for this conference. Professor Patel and all the other academics from India, I must appreciate your enthusiasm. When I invited Professor Patel to be a part of this conference, that's as this is his practice, because his network is huge all over India. I think you must be one of the very few academics who has traveled to all the parts of India to speak. And not only India, I know you have been to many other countries as a keynote speaker to many conferences, and your network is very, very powerful. I have experienced it at many places. So thank you very much, sir, coordinating all these academics from India to join this conference. And I thank you all, because you add color to this event. Then I must thank all the other presenters, all my colleagues from the NIE, and those who have sent papers to us. Maybe we had to say no to a few people, right? Not because their academic excellence is less, but because we had to limit the conference to 2 days. And Dr. Ashoka must have had a tough time selecting the papers for the conference, because we have quite a few international presenters, and then we have very experienced presenters from Sri Lanka, and then novice presenters. Right? I am sure that it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for every one of us to be here for 2 days and share our experience. So thanking again for all the hard work the organizers from the Department of Research made to make this conference a success. I wish you very academic 2 days, but remember one thing, don't be too serious, as Professor Patil mentioned yesterday. Have some time to have a little laughter, to enjoy yourselves, to talk to people, and wish each other, right? Because that is very, very important. Right? Always being too serious is dangerous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Let me respectfully call upon Dr. Sunil Jayanth, Director General, NIE Sri Lanka, Chief Advisor, IRSE, to address the gathering and also to introduce the keynote speaker.
Ayubowan, Wanakkam, Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. As the Director General of NIE, I would like to appreciate all of you first of all. Ape Garutara Maha Sangharatnya, Atulu, all the other distinguished guests. Our keynote speaker, my friend, Professor Govinda Ponnamperuma, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. And also Dr. Jayanthi Gunasekara, who is the architect of this auditorium. I think we should give her a special appreciation, who initiated this, because it was a classroom, she said, And now, yeah, I think Mr. Vijay Sundar also contributed up to some extent. Thank you. And Madam Padmini Ranavira, NEC Vice Chair. We had a very successful seminar or workshop yesterday. Thank you. And maybe today is Saturday, and also people are joining online. So maybe the participation is not that much, but we have enough people because we are used to Zoom now. People are lazy to come, right? That's also one reason, especially on Saturday, Sunday. And also Professor Raja Gunawardana, former professor, and also Professor Godwin Kodituakku. Thank you very much. And I should welcome Professor Patel, Professor Mukesh, and Dr. Dugar. Thank you very much. All the way came to attend this conference from India. Actually, when they organized this conference, they had put international name, but I found no enough participation from international. Then I talked to Dr. Darshana and told them to make it more wider. So since this is the first time they are organizing this kind of organization, I think young team has done a fantastic job, but still we can do better job in the next time. That is my observation. It's okay. In our new education system, you can do mistakes. So your last mistake is the best teacher. So don't organize conferences on Saturday, Sunday, one way. Then attendance is much bigger. And also, we should not go for a conflict. Yesterday, they had NEC conference. So today we are having. So that's also might be one reason. So anyway, I appreciate the organization team who did a fantastic job. Then our Dr. Ginige is not here. And our internal team, our Deputy Director Generals, Dr. Dashara Samaravira, Mr. Vijay Sundara, Ranjani Dhanavardhana, all three are here. And Sudat is there. Sudat Samarasinghe. Unfortunately, I think Mr. Padusiri is not here. He's busy somewhere around. And all the directors and yeah, Jalal. Yes, sorry, I missed your face. Sandra Jalal and all. Welcome, thank you. I think that is my mentioning names. So why we are here, as we discussed yesterday also, the reform is very important. Now our minister is talking about transformation. So actually this is a transformation, Dr. Jayanti, not a reform. Earlier we were doing some small adjustment to our curriculum, but this time our total revamping of the system is there. So therefore, let's name it as a reforming with transformation of education. Even Honorable Minister is heavily promoting this concept, and he has understood the concept very well. Not only that, but also the UNESCO is now talking about transforming education. So what do you mean transformation of education? If it is incremental change, small incremental change, so we can say it's reforming kind of. So this is a transformation because it's a drastic change. What are things we are going to change? Especially the curriculum. So now we are talking about fourth industrial revolution. Now we are going ahead with the fifth industrial revolution. So what do you mean fifth industrial revolution? Machine and man cordially work in fifth industrial revolution. So maybe next time when we do an international conference, I can say, dim this light. So even at home, I have a machine like that. So that robot will understand my voice, right? Then he will dim the light. then on the radio, or can I listen to the National Broadcasting Corporation or IRSE? She will tune it to me. That is the men and machines working together. So that is fifth industrial revolution. Then what is fourth industrial revolution? Internet of Things, robotics, data mining, all these keywords are there. But are we producing people to match with this fourth industrial revolution and 21st century? No. 21st century is changing very fast. Now, fourth industrial revolution started in 2000. Now, after 20 years, now we are talking about fifth industrial. Within very short period, rapidly changing the world. So if you don't go with the rapidly changing world in the 21st century, we become obsolete. We become obsolete. Countries become obsolete. Organization becomes obsolete. And education become obsolete. Unfortunately, world has been changed. Now laptop, desktop, all these mobile phones has been changed drastically. Television, cars, drastically changed. The only thing we have not changed is education. That is the main mistake in Sri Lanka, Professor Patel. Now we are talking about new things as well as we have to enjoy our learning. So these things are not happening in Sri Lanka because we were slow to understand the external environmental changes and adopting those things into our culture, our systems. So one way 21st century has been started in 2000. Now we are in almost in 2023. Now only Sri Lanka talking about 21st century education. Why? What is the reason? The reason being the mindset and paradigm. Mindset and paradigm is outdated. I think I should thank Professor Gominda Ponnamperuma. When I became the Secretary of Higher Education, he and Vishaka Nanakara joined me. And I was telling KSAM, it was only 4 letters. Then we had a discussion, and that's how we wrote that paper, KSAM Graduates for 21st century. So we should appreciate Professor Gominda today. After 12 years, you are our guest keynote speaker. Let's appreciate him very much, because KSAM, so mindset and paradigm, I found in Japan while I was doing my PhD. My Professor Soji Murata, was the person who introduced me mindset and paradigm. Professor Kuhn is the original person who invented this concept. Now we have found this mindset and paradigm part is missing in our education. So Professor Patel, you may agree with me. Now, why our education system is outdated? Why? So I'm going to ask you a question. Why? Now, you told me to make the audience happy, no? So, yes. Relevant and meaningful, but why we failed? Why? Because our top people who runs the education don't read, don't update themselves, right? That is called self-directed learning and mindset and paradigm. If ourselves are not doing the self-directed learning or lifelong learning and not updating ourselves daily, so become obsolete. So there's a linkage between effectiveness and the mindset. Direct link. If your mindset is outdated, believing it's correct, you do the wrong thing. What is happening exactly in Sri Lanka, maybe I don't know India, exactly happening in Sri Lanka in case of education is that. So now we are in 21st century, after 23 years, and fourth industrial revolution, and our education system is not matching with the local development also, national development, or even we are not promoting the sustainable peace. All these things there, but still we are maintaining the old-fashioned thing. Why? Because our decision makers' mindset and paradigm is outdated. They don't know what is 21st century. They don't know what is fourth industrial revolution. What is generation Z, generation alpha, generation beta. What is the latest active learning? What is deeper learning? What is higher order thinking? All these concepts are missing. Therefore, I think one way NIE also part of this mistake, because believing it is correct, we have been doing the old-fashioned education. How much we invest on education, we cannot produce a person who are matching with the 21st century, who can face with the fourth industrial revolution, because our teaching learning process, our curriculum, our assessment is outdated. Principals teaching, examination system is outdated. So that is the main problem, Dr. Jayanti, has happened. We didn't have a concept called mindset and paradigm. So thanks to our friend and all, we managed to introduce KSAM model. Now, as I explained you yesterday, now we have added one more equation to support this KSAM model. What is that? 21st century human capital equal to 3R plus 3L plus 2Cs plus SDL. So 3R means reading, writing, arithmetic, and subject knowledge. That is equal to knowledge. So 3R means knowledge. So our present education system is geared to produce knowledge. But imagination is not there. Entrepreneurship is not there, Professor. Right? Our Professor also will agree with me, even Dr. Koditwaku, and even our Deputy Chair, Padmini Ranavira. So unfortunately, our education system still producing these old-fashioned people. Then if you add creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, collaboration, teamwork, media literacy, information literacy, financial literacy, all these things, then adding to that 3R, that is important. So 3L means learning skills, life skills, and literacy skills. Right? Plus character and citizenship. Now today, without character, without citizenship skills, we cannot make a successful person, especially who think about the country, who think about the society. Unfortunately, our education system produces people who thinks about self, not the country, but the self. Right? So that is the main problem. When you see the politician on the TV, you can understand that. They fight each other. They are not worried about the country. Right? They want to grab the power. Now, ship, if you think the country as a ship is ready to sink, but still we are fighting to run the country. So first, let's safeguard the ship. So that is coming from self-oriented, not selfless and country-oriented, society-oriented. People should be produced through the our system. So those are the main issues. So plus self-directed learning to update mindset. So I'm happy that now NEC has accepted, Madam Ranavira, our KSAM model, and you have published it as a accepted model as a Sri Lankan model. So even Sri Lanka qualification framework is based on that. Now we are going to change our education system accordingly. So with that background of this conference, that is the main baseline of this conference we wanted to have. Now I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Gominda Ponnam Peruma, and let him do his speech. Professor Gominda Ponnam Peruma is serving as the head of Department of Education, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo. And he completed his Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery from University of Colombo in 1997, and completed Master of Medical Education and Doctor of Philosophy in 2009 from University of Dundee, UK. Professor Gominda Ponnam Peruma has served as an invited speaker cum resource person in many international symposia and conferences. Author of several journal articles and books. He cites on the editorial boards of 2 international medical He sits on the editorial boards of 2 international medical education journals. He is a postgraduate tutor, examiner, and resource material developer for national and international medical education courses. He got many presidential and NRC merit awards for scientific publications. He has served as an advisor, visiting professor, consultant, and fellow in several academic institutes and educational projects. He is a founder, co-chair of the Asia Pacific Medical Education Network, APME Net. His research interests are on assessment, including selection of training and curriculum development and evaluation. So I think we have invited the ideal person who went around the country with me to propagate this new thinking, 21st century education and learner-centered and learning-centered. Those days we call student-centered. With a lot of difficulties, changing the universities are very difficult. So cemeteries and universities are same. In Sri Lanka, now cemeteries are changing, but not the universities. So I think that is the background. So let's give a very good hand and welcome our keynote speaker today, Professor Gominda Ponnamperuma.
Thank you very much for that very kind introduction. That was more than generous. And also, thank you very much for inviting me as the keynote speaker for this first, maybe inaugural international conference that the NIE is organizing. So let me first pay tribute to all of you for doing so. And let me start my talk, which is on research. So members of the sirs of the clergy, international speakers, Director General of the National Education Institute, and all other dignitaries. I think what Dr. Darshana said a little while ago, to share experience with the young of doing research is what I'm going to do. In fact, what I am going to talk today would be very much a journey that I have gone. Because I have been trained as a so I have been trained as a sort of a researcher in my early career as a scientific researcher. And if you are trained that way, and most of you probably is, because even in social sciences, there is a science part. So okay, let me. Okay. So in my early career, I have been trained as many of you, because research had been developed as a scientific discipline. So many of us would be trained sort of to do scientific research. But what I found was when we do education research, there are a lot of pitfalls, a lot of things that we should be careful of. Otherwise, we may run into trouble. So let me share with you some of these. Probably the young researchers here can avoid those when they do educational research. So in the scientific world, the experimental design is the thing. People really look forward to that in various evidence-based activities. People want to know what is the design, research design. And if you say that you have done a study with an experimental design, you will be highly valued and highly appreciated. So a classical experimental design will have this sort of a model where IG is the intervention group. So we get a, let's say, group of people and we do something to them, right? We administer something to them, or we give them something. And then before we give it, that's the E. E is the event. So we expose this group of people to an event. And before we expose them, we do what we call a pre-test to see whether what we are interested in is there in them. How much is there in them? Then after the event, we do a post-test to see whether our event, thing that we did, had really improved whatever we wanted. Similarly, we have what we call a control group, which we don't give that exposure. And then we see whether they have improved also and compare. So that's the classical scientific experimental model. So what is so good in this model? What is so good in this model is that we can really see whether something is. So what is so valued in this model is we can really find out whether something is working or not. So for example, even in education, if we introduce a new teaching learning method, we want to know whether it's working or not. So maybe we can follow this, but what I am going to talk to you is when we adopt this model, be careful of certain things. So to see why we should follow this model, let's think of an example. Now I will take from Dr. Navaratna the formula that he introduced to you yesterday, and probably he must have already told you about. That formula has what we call SDL. So student-directed, self-directed learning. So in self-directed learning, we don't teach. Students have to, we only facilitate, we only support the learning. Students have to learn on their own. So one way of thinking of that is not to teach, but to give the student a guide, let's say a study guide. So what we can do is, event is our study guide. So we give a group of students a study guide and then test whether they know now what they should have learned. Give them a test, educational test, an exam. So that's something like this. So when this happens, one may say, okay, students, yeah, I see students have got good marks. But then is it due to the event? Is it due to the study guide, or did they anyway have that knowledge? So if that is the case, then we can't say, okay, that study guide is the one that really made them self-directed and then they learned on their own. So study guide will give them some basic instructions as to how to do self-directed learning. So then there is a problem. So to avoid that problem, we measure students' ability before we give the study guide. So we know that, okay, this was their ability before, and then we gave the study guide, and now we are checking again, and we want to see a difference between the two. So that way we can avoid that criticism. Maybe students already knew. It's not the study guide that made them great. But then even when you do that, certain people may have the same problem, same criticism. They will say, okay, you took a group of people and gave them a study guide, and now they are and now you say there is a difference in their ability. They will say, well, that's not due to study guide. Anyway, students mature, students learn. And the difference may be due to that, not your study guide. So to avoid that, we have a control group. We don't give the study guide. And then we do the same thing except giving the study guide to the control group, and control group and this intervention group are almost identical. Otherwise, people may say, no, intervention group had better students, more intelligent students, better learners. So to avoid that, we give both the groups a similar chance. So they are what we call randomly selected groups. So if there are X number of so-called good learners in the intervention group, the same number will be there in the control group. And then we don't give the study guide, and then we see the difference, and what we want, the difference in the interventional group should be higher. Then we can conclude, okay, our study guide has worked. So this is all good. That's why people use this. This is real sort of, in the quantitative paradigm, real experimental design. But there are a few problems when you apply this to education. Here are the 6 that I want to discuss with you. Ethical issues in the control group. Intervention always shows some results. Cross-contamination, long waiting time between the intervention and the result, confounding factors, and limited opportunity to explore why and how. I will take these one by one. So ethical issues with the control group. So the control group, we randomize students and say this group will get the study guide and this group will not get the study guide. How ethical is that? We are depriving a group right to education. Right? So these ethics boards will not like that. Right? And they will not approve your research. So that's the first pitfall as an educational researcher that you need to address. How to avoid that? No point in telling the pitfall if we don't know how to avoid it. So we do certain things which in not only education, certain other disciplines also do, which have the same problem. So the problem is with the randomization, because we divide and say one group will get the study guide, the other group will not get the study guide. And we are doing that. But if they voluntarily say we are not going to get the study guide this time, that's okay. So one way is to, how to overcome, find a naturally existing control group. Maybe one province is scheduled to get the study guide, the other province due to some reason is getting the study guide late. That's the opportunity for you as a researcher to grab. Because now there is a naturally existing control group. Right? So I know down south, there were now the new NIE modules were piloted. So the rest of the countries are now naturally existing control group. If you want to see whether the new modules of the NIE are working. Second is, we tell the ethics board, yes, we are depriving this group the study guide for the moment, but they will not be harmed. After the research, we are going to give them. So we are not totally keeping them in the dark. That may work sometimes. Third is, we have historical cohorts. Because we developed the study guide only now. But previous year, there was no study guide. So that may be another group that we can use as the control group. When you do that, of course, these are all modifications. Modifications have some cost because now we are not randomizing. So we assume that these two groups, control group and the intervention groups, are the same. So in classical research methodology textbooks, these are called quasi-experimental studies, not real experimental, because that randomization part we have slightly modified. But still, it's better than having nothing because we can address a lot of the issues that we discussed on the previous slide. Right. So that's about ethical issues. But when you do that also, sometimes there may be criticisms. Let's look at them. So the second pitfall is, okay, we give a teaching learning method to a group of students, and the other group of students we are not giving, either due to non-availability or they are a previous cohort or whatever. Now, is there anything to prove? Because we have taught one group, other group has not been taught. So do you think that the other group will do better than the group who, however bad the teaching is? However bad the teaching is, the group that were taught may have learned something with that bad teaching. And the other group may have didn't have an opportunity to learn at all. So is there a research to be conducted? It's obvious. You don't need a research. I can tell you the intervention group will do better. So the intervention group always shows results. The control group will always show less results because we have not simply given the opportunity to learn for that control group. That's another problem with this method with this model in educational research. So how to overcome? What we can do is, okay, we are not giving nothing to the control group. We are giving a decent opportunity for them to learn also. So this lower middle box is not empty anymore. Is not empty anymore. There is a simple E, another event. Maybe a study guide is given, printed and all that for the intervention group. The control group, we don't give a printed sort of a study guide, but we tell them what they should do as self-directed learners. But we don't give them a sort of a organized, methodical places where they should fill in sort of a manual type of a study guide. We don't give, but we tell them morally so that they also know what to do. That's fair enough. Give them a fair enough chance. And then if they perform poorly and if the intervention group performs better in the difference between the pre-test and the post-test, then we can say, yes, it's worthwhile doing a study guide, giving a study guide. But then the problem is in this method. So we call this in most research, most medical research, this simple is called a placebo. So we give a dummy something for them to, because there is a psychological effect also. Psychological effect is we did not learn. How can we be better? We are going to sure fail the post-test. But that's not the case when we give them something. So we also learn, they have that confidence. So this problem with the placebo in educational research is, it's not actually a placebo. Placebo is a dummy. Here you give something to learn. The problem with this is again ethics. Now we randomly divide and say, no, we are not giving you the study guide. We are giving you only oral instruction. Is that ethical? Ethics boards will not like that also. Because again, education is a right. So then how to overcome that? There is an elegant model which is an extension of this. It's called crossover studies. Now in a crossover study, the first part is the same. Intervention group will get the study guide, the control group will not get the study guide, but some oral instructions. So then the oral instruction control group is at a disadvantage, if we think that the study guide is the thing that works. So after this, you change the intervention and the control group. Now the second part of the study is, now the intervention group gets the oral instructions and the control group gets the study guide. And you retest after that. And then you work out the differences. So there is a crossover. Now, what is even more interesting in this study, in this sort of a study design, is that you can forget about this post-test. Even if you forget about that post-test, there will be another research question to answer. I am giving the intervention group first the study guide, then the oral instruction. In that sequence, I am giving the control group first the oral instructions, then the study guide. Which sequence works better? So we agree both methods of instruction are good, but we want to know what should come first. In that case, this is the model. Right, over to third. Third is cross-contamination. That's a problem in medical education. In education. In medicine, my earlier field of work, this is not a problem. So in medicine, we want to test a drug. Let's say drug for back pain. We get a group of patients and give the drug. And we get a randomly selected group of patients and give a dummy, placebo. Now that group, that intervention group and the control groups, patients never change medicine. They don't say, okay, I got this medicine. No, try this medicine. I will try the other medicine. They don't do that. They strictly follow the doctor. But students exchange notes. Well known. Right? Students don't stay with what they got. They will always be interested to know what the other group got. What they got, they will not be very interested. So cross-contamination is a big problem in education research. And that is worse with social media. You will find that study guide on the Facebook, on the WhatsApp. So there is no control group. You have lost the control group. Right? So how to overcome? One is find naturally existing control group. With social media, it's very difficult. Maybe in another country, you are using a unique language. And that country, they can't understand Sinhala or Tamil. European country, maybe, that may be okay. That sort of thing may be okay. Or select a same ploys. Select a historical cohort. Last year, we did not have a study guide. So we can compare that. Of course, they are not strictly randomized, but that may be okay. Well, I said select a control group from a distant geographical area, but I have also said but. Because even if it is in another country, now there are translators, Google Translator, of whatever they put, you get the answer. You get the study guide in the language that you know. So things are very difficult these days. But at least what we can do is, you can tell the control group, please don't, plead not to. Please don't, we will give you later. We want to run this experiment first. Do this because you have enrolled to this on this experiment, but we'll give you the study guide later. So that probably that works. So the only thing is you have to have a high index of caution. Because all these things, because after running the experiment, you find that, okay, these people have shared their information, which we very diligently gave only to one and the other group we did not give. No point then. Experiment has collapsed. Right, long waiting time. Now, if you expose a plant to light, results will be very coming quite quickly, at least within a few months. Right. But if you give something to a program, maybe 1 year course, you have to wait 1 year for the results to come, or even a few months. So during that time, a lot of things can happen. We may lose some of the students or participants from the control group or the intervention group. They drop out. Change of student circumstances. Pandemic hits. All move to online. Now it's not the experiment we planned because there's this long waiting time. Student circumstances. Good students, due to socio-economic circumstances, start performing poorly. So pre-test, they had a high score. Now after the study guide, now they are showing low scores, not due to the study guide. Now their circumstances have changed. They have lost a parent, or their parents have lost their jobs. Now the parents can't support them. So there may be a lot of problems, a lot of other things that would have affected that post-test score. Then idiosyncrasies of student maturation. Students don't mature at the same level, at the same rate. Some are early beginners, some are late bloomers, you know that. So with this long interval, many things can happen. Those who did well may not perform later. Those who did not do well may perform very well later, but that is not due to the study guide. That is their maturation effect. So how to overcome? Again, there are no foolproof methods, but these are the things that we can do best. Increase the sample size. 1 or 2 dropouts will not matter then, if you have a large enough a sample. And also, if you have a large enough a sample, maybe there are a proportion of students who are late bloomers in the intervention group. Then we can assume that the same number, same proportion may be also in the control group. So then it doesn't matter. Monitor closely. If you are, look after your research subjects well. Support them if support is necessary. If they are not getting support, if they got support earlier from home, now they are not getting, try to support them. So provide support for the participants and monitor them closely. See whether how many are losing support from home in both groups. If they are same proportion, then your research is still valid. Confounding factors. So it's similar to the earlier one. So one is student preferences. Students have learning styles, likes. They are all human beings. They are not plants, or they are not something which we do research with, like inanimate things. So students have preferences. Students will say, I was given a study guide, I don't like it. For whatever, I don't like the font, I don't like the format, for whatever reason, not the content really. So then I don't feel like reading it. Then again is a problem. Then, as I earlier said, change of study conditions. Either a pandemic hits and all of us are back home, we are not interacting with each other, or there are student circumstances that are changing. So for all these reasons, it may not be possible sometimes to avoid all those, but we can do our best. For example, how to overcome, maybe again increasing the sample size works. Because if there are people who dislike a particular method in the intervention group, the same proportion you can assume to be there in the control group if we have a large enough sample size. Or the earlier crossover studies, that may work because, okay, I did not like this study guide, but I liked something that was given to the control group, but now I'm getting that in the next phase of the research. So the crossover study is an elegant way of overcoming that. Then the final pitfall is about maybe limitations in the exploration of why and how. Usually this experimental method is highly embedded in what we call the quantitative paradigm. So we measure everything. So we measure with the pre-test, we measure the ability. With the post-test, we measure, meaning we give a number. We give them a test and give a percentage or a grade or a number. Now, in that sort of a situation, the problem is that whether it works, to find out whether something works, no doubt this is very good. But to see how it worked, what sort of ways that the students or the subjects used to interact with the study guide. How did they read the study guide? Did they read in the morning? Did they read from different places, or did they go in a sequence? Those things are lost in this sort of a method. So for those things, you need another method. And that's the qualitative paradigm. So if you can run this method with some qualitative methods to find out how they learned it, what we call mixed method research, that would be the best. So these are the 6 pitfalls that I want to actually place in front of you so that you can avoid some of these when you run educational research. So those are the 6 things, and the how to overcome, ways to overcome that we discussed are ethical issues, depriving the control group the intervention, find naturally existing control group, offer the intervention later to the control group, or select a historical cohort. Intervention always shows results, then offer the control group something similar, plus or minus a crossover study. Then for cross-contamination, again, find a group which does not speak the same language as the intervention group, or a faraway group, or the best would be these days, just to plead the control group, please bear with us, we will give you the intervention later. Long waiting time, increase in for the results, increase the sample size, monitor them closely, the students, the participants, and then offer support if necessary to the participants. Confounding factors, again, increase the sample size and maybe crossover designs. Finally, the limited opportunity to explore why and how with this experimental model can be overcome by adopting mixed method studies where you introduce the qualitative part also. So those are the 6 messages to you today. And I hope that you would engage in this sort of research with more awareness in the future, with the things that probably not as apparent in education or research methodology textbooks. This is not very well stated. You learn the hard way. So rather than learning the hard way, probably it would be useful to get this from a person who learned the hard way and avoid those. So that was my message and the intention. Once again, thank you very much for inviting me. and I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We are now moving on to a special segment of the agenda. First of all, let me call upon the following dignitaries on stage, please. Dr. Sunil Jayanthanavaratna, Director General, NIE, Mrs. Ranjani Danavardhana, Deputy Director General, Faculty of Research, Planning and Development, Dr. Dayananda Kapatigoda, Director, Department of Research and Development, NIE. The first copy of the proceedings of the research symposium will now be handed over to Dr. Sunil Jayanthanavaratna, Director General, NIE, by Dr. Dayananda Kapatigoda, Director, Department of Research and Development, NIE. Let me kindly request the following dignitaries to come on stage and kindly accept the tokens of appreciation. Our keynote speaker for the day, Professor Gominda Ponnamperuma, Head of the Department of Medical Education, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo. Thank you, sir. Plenary speaker, Professor Z. N. Patil, President, English Language Teachers Association, India. Let me also invite session chairpersons, Dr. Godwin Kodituaku, Dr. P.C. Durgar, Dr. Darshana Samaravira, Dr. Asoka De Silva. Dr. M.L.S. Piathisa. Dr. W.K.G.K. Katukurunda. And Dr. Dayananda Kapitigoda. Thank you, respected sir and madam. May I now call upon Mr. H.A.S. Nidesh, Assistant Lecturer, Department of Research and Development in IRSE Sri Lanka, to deliver the word of thanks.
Good morning, all of you, all the distinguished guests and participants. It seems to be a great honor to propose vote of thanks to all who have helped in making this symposium a very resounding event. I would like to thank our beloved Director General of National Institute of Education, Dr. Sunil Jayantanawaratna, for your guidance and moral support. And dear Professor Gominda Ponnapperuma, Head of Department of Medical Education, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo. And thank you very much for your keynote speech. I need to mention my deepest sense of appreciation to you, sir. Thank you very much. And it's our privilege, our former Director General, Dr. Jayanti Gunasekara, participate our event. Thank you so much, madam. Dear sir, Dr. Godwin Kodituakku, your presence is great pleasure for us. Thank you very much. Next, I would like to thank our distinguished plenary speaker, Professor Isedden Patil, President of English Language Teachers Association of India, for gracing today's seminar. Thank you, sir, for hearing with us. Next, Mrs. Padmini Ranavira, Vice Chairman of NEC. Thank you very much for the coming to this event. Next, and also Professor Raja Gunawardana, sir, thank you very much for the coming to this event. Next, dear madam, Mrs. Ranjani Dhanawardana, Deputy Director General of Faculty of Research, Planning and Development. It's our dedication that contribute our success. Thank you for your inspiring us. Next, Dr. Darshana Samaravira, Deputy Director General of Faculty of Languages, Humanities and Social Sciences. I would like to appreciate your guidance and encourage on this event as the General Chair. Thank you very much, sir. And I would like to convey my sincere thanks to all the Deputy Director Generals and head of the various departments who participate the event throughout. Next, Dr. Ashoka De Silva, Director, Department of Science, National Institute of Education, served as a chairman of review board. We acknowledge your contribution, sir. I extend deep gratitude to member of the committee, reviewers and chairperson for their valuable comments and guidance for the symposium. Here, we fortunate enough to have our motivated, inspiring director, Dr. Dayananda Kappetigoda, always guiding us to make event success. And also, we are fortunate to back by very dedicated and motivated team of our Department of Research and Development, and also Department of Planning, who know their tasks and are very result oriented. Finally, especially we would like to thank member of Faculty of Administrative, Financial and Support Service who contribute valuable support throughout the event. Finally, I especially thank the people who have been the backbone of our event, our technical supportive team, our media team, and IT supportive unit, and the printing department, and finally, catering staff members. We express our sincere thanks to our announcer, Ms. Augusta Antonimuttu, and external media coverage, Dr. Senesh Dishanayaka, and our designer, Mr. Prasanna Galapatti. We appreciate our presenters and congratulate them for the successful presentation and their future research involvements. And I would like to thank all of you present here for making the time to be with us today and helping us make the event grand successful. Not today, actually, tomorrow also you are presenting here. Once again, I thank for all cordial cooperation. Thank you very much, and have a nice day today and tomorrow.
Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up the inaugural session of the Research Symposium. The technical session, as you know, which is to be held in 2 sessions, one at this auditorium and another session at the Media Conference Hall, will be followed right after a short break. So I kindly invite all of you to proceed towards the dining hall for fellowship. And this is Augusta Antonimuttu signing off. Have a pleasant day ahead.